significance of simplicity. It's something that I have been contemplating all day. And the reason for that is because I had a very interesting experience this morning. It was extremely brief, but it was quite significant for me. And after I share this experience with you, I'd like to talk to you about the evolution that I think is going on right now with me, and I'm sure with others that are out there. So this morning, I had a very interesting night last night. I want to set this up and start off with the fact that actually my night was going terribly last night. I had something happen to my refrigerator. It just stopped working and everything that was in my refrigerator went bad. Now, the good news is that they were able to replace my refrigerator this morning. My apartment building was. However, again, I lost a bunch of food, and I have to admit, I was very stressed out. I was thinking about it, and, of course I had to clean my refrigerator out in the middle of the night, and, I had to throw a bunch of food out. But when I laid down, and this is, for me, the most significant part of this whole thing. When I laid down, I was stressed, and normally, obviously, my advice is always, if you're going to be astral projecting and going out there, I wouldn't go out there stressed out or angry or with bitterness in your heart, because these things can turn on you. They can manifest into something, and well, I just don't recommend that. But this is so interesting. As I was laying in my bed sometime in the middle of the night last night, it was probably about 5 something in the morning, maybe 4:30 in the morning, and of course I had to be up by like 6 something to get ready to go to work. And so I was laying there, I had storm sounds on, and I was just trying to relax, guys, because I was stressed. This whole refrigerator thing had stressed me out. And so as I lay there, I kind of turned on my right side. And when I turned on my right side, within probably about 10 to 15 minutes, I went into that middle space. And that's the only way that I can really describe it to you guys. It is a middle space. I've talked about there being a sweet spot where you're in the middle of between being awake and being asleep. But it literally feels in my mind, it feels like it's some middle place that I can't really describe that to you any more than just saying that it really truly feels as if it is in the middle. Whatever that means, whatever it means to be in the middle, that's what it feels like. And when it happens, it's such an interesting feeling. It's so difficult for me to describe it. It is definitely a reality when I hit that place and I'm able to go into another reality or something like that in this middle space. I'm able to go there, and it's just as real as the 3D world. And earlier this morning, when this happened, suddenly, after I'd shut my eyes, storm sounds in the backdrop, I was on a patio. Now, I want you to picture a patio, if you will, but I want you to picture a patio that extends on and on and on. So for those of you who have an apartment, I think houses sometimes have patios. I'm not certain, but maybe it would be called a terrace. I'm not sure, but if you can imagine, I'm thinking of it as a patio, and you have maybe a rail or something in front. You could lean on that railing and on the patio. And as I entered this patio space, it was wide. It was a wide patio. And again, it extended on and on. And there were people lined up. Maybe 50 people, maybe 100. It was as far as my eye could see. But the first thing I heard, guys, was music. Now, remember, I had on storm sounds. So the storm sounds had disappeared and this music had come up. And anyone who has ever listened to classical music, if you've ever listened to just violins playing together, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 violins, and these violins perhaps are being played by virtuoso musicians that are amazing, that play professionally. You can imagine what I was hearing. It was so beautiful. The music was so beautiful. I don't want you to think that this was like some heavenly sound, because it wasn't. It did sound like a song, perhaps the kind of song that Beethoven would have composed, perhaps, or some brilliant composer would have created, something like that. And I still have it in my head, sort of, but I wish I could perform it for you, because it was absolutely beautiful. I've never really been a classical music person. I've never really been a huge fan. But as I walked and I listened to this music, as I walked down this forever patio, this patio that went on and on, I began to think to myself, this music's really relaxing. I really like this. And I noticed these people that were along the patio, that they were watching these musicians. They were leaning over the rail. Now, I couldn't see the musicians, and for all I know, I may have been 1,000 feet up or maybe close to the ground. I'm uncertain about that. What I am certain about is the music and the people just watching and listening. And we shared a moment. It wasn't like some of my beyond body experiences where I'm like, where are we? What's going on? I was simply in silence, listening to this beautiful music that, after such a stressful night, had calmed me down. I just walked and walked and walked, and eventually I opened my eyes back in the 3D world. And I must tell you, I was very, very relaxed after this. And I thought about the simplicity of it all. Just violins playing together in a very small concert, and me listening. No jumping through walls or flying through the sky or dealing with different entities or any of those things. And I thought about the significance of simplicity, of how beautiful it all is. It is one thing that I've learned. I know people will ask me at times, what have your guides taught you? What have you learned from doing astral projection? I've learned quite a few things, but one of the more important things that I believe I've learned is that the simplest things have the most significance. That will always be one of the more important lessons for me. The next thing I'd like to talk about briefly is what happened to me on May the 10th. I didn't share it at that time because these experiences were so short. But let me very quickly go through the experiences with you, and then I will talk about what I think that it means, because it really hit me. I think maybe for the first time, really, really hit me. This was a morning where I hadn't gotten up and to get ready for work. I was just really, really tired. And well, as I've talked about before, when I'm really tired, I can shut my eyes and I see things. It can be at times like I'm watching a movie or a film of some sort. But other times I can actually enter different realities through these, I guess, portals or whatever, or these films or whatever I see with my eyes closed. And that morning, I was able to enter into 3 experiences within moments of each other. And it changed or shifted when I turned in bed. So if I turned right or turned left, like physically did that, I would experience a different place. The first place I experienced, I was driving down a black road, or it seemed like it was black because it was so dark. I could see the crosswalks and other things. At night, it was really dark, but then there were headlights, and I was driving. Then I opened my eyes back in the 3D world. I turned. I was lying straight on my back, and then suddenly I was walking down a hallway, and I saw this really weird creature. It looked like a sort of like a pig, but it had like no eyes. It was really strange. And I saw a bigger one, and then I saw really small ones, and they just walked right by me down this hallway. And I thought I was in some sort of apartment building. It was really, really strange. These creatures really looked strange. And then I opened my eyes again, back in the 3D world. Then I closed them as I turned to the left. When I turned to the left, suddenly I was in a house. And there was, I believe, a fireplace, but I was holding a box like you would get if you had gotten a delivery from Amazon. And I opened the box, and there was a remote control inside the box. And I took out the remote control, and I was holding it, and I noticed, and I could feel the plastic. I was touching the buttons, and it was real. All 3 of these experiences were just as real. Each one happened within moments. Guys, I just want you to think about this for a second. This happened with me simply reaching that vibrational point that people talk about, with me raising my vibrational frequency. I was able to shift from one reality to the next. And it was incredible. But what I have been contemplating and what I've been thinking about is what else is possible. And it's something I've talked about before. But I'm thinking for me, the rest of this year, I'm really going to be focusing on evolving and seeing how far I can push this envelope, keeping my mind open and continuing to move forward. That's kind of going to be my theme, I think. But I just wanted to briefly talk about that with you. I will be talking about this more as time goes on. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.